Coming up, we have a host of presenters from the Institute of Integrative Conservation from Women Marry, Dr. John Swaddle, Dr. Mara Dicenta, Dr. Anita Hagy Ferguson, Dr. Fernando Glenna-Rodríguez, Dr. Sapana Lohani, and Dr. Alli Sabo. And their presentation will be on cultivating partnerships between Virginia's tribal communities and women married to address shared educational and environmental goals.
Thank you, Chief Anderson. Thank you, Dr. Edwards, for inviting us to be part of this. It's wonderful. Thank you, Chiefs, for being here. All the tribal citizens are here. We're honored to be able to talk to you. My name is John Swaddle. I'm the faculty director for the Institute for Integrative Conservation, which is a fairly new unit at William & Mary. The intention today is for us to introduce what the unit is about, what we're trying to do, and then move into a large part of this is going to be, hopefully, participation. We're in the after lunch slump. As a teacher, I recognize this. And so we thought we'd spice things up, and we're going to have some activities going on. And we're going to ask you to share your ideas, if you want to, back to us, and we're going to try and understand from your point of view what some needs are around things that are shared goals. So the Institute for Integrative Conservation has a mission of trying to bring together and empower an inclusive community of thought leaders to create and deliver timely, innovative solutions to the world's most pressing conservation challenges. And our vision overall is a world in which people and nature are inextricably, equitably, and justly connected, and the natural environment thrives for current and future generations. And hopefully, that's a mission and vision that resonates with many people in this room, of course. And we're trying to do this largely through partnerships. We're trying to build partnerships locally, but also globally, so that we can try to deliver upon this mission. So we're working with lots of different conservation actors to try and work on current problems that help people and help the environments in which they live. We're trying to grow a diverse set of new talent in conservation too as well. So that includes people from Virginia, of course, because we're a university, and our primary goal is to educate people. And foster place-based learning, because we know that every conservation challenge and solution is unique to the place in which it exists. And we want to connect conservation knowledge to real-world action. So what do we mean by integrative conservation? This infographic to the right here is trying to encapsulate what we mean. And if you notice, the images of non-human organisms is interblended with human development, because we very much see the view of conservation that we have and that we're working around is that humans are part of nature rather than being apart from nature, which has been one of the drawbacks and barriers to conservation in the past. We also see that to be able to bring about successful and sustainable conservation solutions, you have to think about the well-being of people and to make sure that the action that you're taking and the way in which you conceive of the issues are embedded within the local community, are driven by the views of the local community. So this means building together connections across different kinds of human and natural systems, making sure that you're recognizing and working with various different kinds of knowledge systems, and not just Western science systems, and that you're leveraging expertise across various different sectors and disciplines, and that you're fostering co-designed partnerships to be able to bring about these solutions. And that's really what we want to try to work with today, is that we're only 2 years old as a unit within William & Mary, but we've already gone locally, but also somewhat globally, in partnership with various different organizations and local communities to understand what are their challenges. What do the people in these areas face, and how can we help, especially in terms of their connections to nature and to land and to waters. So these are just some images from various different projects that people have been involved in. And actually, what I skipped to begin with, I'm sorry, is that we were going to do a quick introduction of everybody in the panel. So why don't we, as we go down the list, why don't you just introduce yourself and talk about the work that we're talking about too as well. So on the panel here, we have various different people from the IIC who are going to briefly talk about some activities that we've been involved in before we get into the discussion, where we sort of switch this around to understand what more of your goals and your ideas for partnerships might be. So, Alli, this is you. Yep.
Okay, hi everyone. Can you hear me okay? My name is Alli Sabo. I'm the program manager for capacity development at the IIC. And so the way we're doing capacity development right now is through two programs that I want to introduce you to very quickly. The first is the Integrative Conservation Clinic. And what we're doing is building an online platform that's free, it's open access, and it's meant to bridge the knowledge and the science behind conservation with the practice of conservation in a way where information is really easily accessible, well organized, and cuts down on time demands for searching for different tools and approaches for dealing with conservation challenges, environmental decision making. And we draw these tools and approaches from all disciplines, from social sciences, natural sciences, biology, ecology, economics, psychology, all kinds of things. But we don't just mean Western scientific perspectives, we want to include traditional and indigenous approaches as well, which brings me to ways to engage. That was not the right button. Thank you. There we go. And so we're co-designing this platform with the folks that we hope will be using it. And so if any of you working on these types of challenges, working with environmental decision making, things like that, want to help us address this, think about how we can best do it, we'd love to hear from you. The second program is called the Conservation Catalyst, and it is a new program that we're developing. It's for conservation professionals to develop leadership skills. So we're really focused on developing leadership competency and leadership confidence. We'll be having our inaugural cohort come next year in June for 3 weeks. We'll be here at William and Mary, and it's participants from all over. But we're really focused on developing local leadership capacity. And this year we'll be working with groups including youth-led, indigenous-led, and women-led organizations. And so we're also co-designing this program with participants as we go along. And so we'd love to think about future ways to engage with you all as well as either future participants as emerging leaders in conservation come up, or as contributors so that we can think about and introduce Virginia challenges, local issues here that we face to the program participants. And that's it.
Hello everyone, my name is Dicenta, and I am an assistant professor at IIC and at the Department of Anthropology in William & Mary. And I've been here for a little bit more than a year. I was working in Patagonia before, where we know very well the history of global conservation organizations coming, acquiring enormous pieces of land, and working with the communities, and reproducing the idea that there are no more indigenous peoples in the region, which is a very established one. So with that history, here I am starting to teach courses on indigenous voices in conservation and conservation ethics, with the question that conservation realized that 85% of the biodiversity in the world is being protected by 5% of the peoples, the indigenous peoples of the world. So I believe that is what is motivating a lot of conservation partners to also try and engage with indigenous peoples. And in this context is how to think, how to do that in ways that do not tokenize communities, that address all the traditions and histories, as well as that address the power structures that mediate different institutions, right? When big institutions go and collaborate with communities, not only the types of knowledge might be different, but also the way that the tables are set up are complex. So with that, my courses are trying to integrate all indigenous scholars and scientists and biologists and wildlife managers, because often students are finding like, oh, I want to study indigenous peoples and their cultures without addressing our systems of knowledge as well. And in that context, yes, apart from the teaching and the challenges, so in these courses, I've been inviting some experts and indigenous scholars and people from the area. I'm really looking forward to have more conversations on how can we also integrate better the youth in these courses, not only provide experiences for Will and Mary students. And in the other side, projects, I work in conservation projects that address these collaborations between scientists and communities and so on. So looking forward to have more conversations.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Fernando Glenna-Rodríguez. I am an assistant professor in sociology and conservation. I identify as mestizo from Mexico, and my teaching and research agenda is based on the struggles of indigenous peoples, primarily in Mexico and Central America. I got started in my professional career providing technical advice to the organizations that represent the Mestizo Nation in Honduras and Nicaragua to support the process of obtaining the land titles for their ancestral homelands. So here in this slide, as you can see, someone who is holding a GPS device where they were demarcating the boundaries of their ancestral sites. And as part of this process, I continue in my PhD doing a dissertation in trying to understand what happens after the Mestizo Nation in Honduras obtain these land titles and all the plethora of different struggles that abounded from that. So in my research, I've been very interested in trying to understand these issues of indigeneity from a transnational perspective. So many of the discussions on indigenous sovereignty here in the United States and Canada have been very helpful for framing and for asking different questions in Latin America. And my goal and that's why I am so excited to be here in this conference, is to also see how we can bring some of those perspectives also to increase dialogue. So I continue to be engaged with the Mestizo Nation in Honduras. So right now, we are in the process of doing an ethnohistory project to try to account for the history of the Mestizo Kingdom, which was dissolved after Great Britain signed treaties with Honduras and Nicaragua in 1860. But of course, indigenous sovereignty has been maintained and has been fought for. And so part of what we want to do with this ethnohistory project is to be able to provide educational materials for the school children in Mosquitia, and also opening a museum in the region where they'll be able to show some of the archaeological pieces that have been unearthed recently in the region and that right now are being held in the capital city of Tegucigalpa. So here at William & Mary, I also engage my students in a variety of different projects through the IAC. We are doing citizen science projects. So this past summer I was in Mexico, also participating with an indigenous community that lives close to Mexico City to do phytosociology, which basically is the identification of plant communities, as this is a part of helping them gather data that will be able to demonstrate that the community land management practices are much better for the environment than some of the reforestation policies that are being imposed from the top down. I teach classes in environmental justice, political ecology and conservation, research design, and sustainable livelihoods. And for all these classes, I am very eager to incorporate projects with organizations. So this semester we have a project with an environmental think tank in Central America, where in my class we are going to be producing a document to help them think through how to decolonize agroforestry. So also I'll be very interested in getting projects also for the class and see ways that we can collaborate.
Hello everyone, my name is Sapana Lohani. I'm from Nepal. My position is a geospatial data scientist with IIC at William & Mary. I work with a tool called ArcGIS and do geospatial analysis related to issues in conservation. I'm teaching two courses right now. One is the GIS, obviously, and another is statistics, the quantitative methods in conservation. My role and my responsibility, it adds to the IIC's role in bringing the students and the organizations and the communities together with their statistical and geospatial expertise. using GIS, we not only use the ground object, we not only represent them in the forms of lines, polygons, or also in numbers, as you can see in the matrix. We analyze them not only just to look at how to conserve species like one-horned rhinoceros, or to make sustainable decisions where both the kids and the fishes are happy, or also we can use to share stories which you can see, which is titled Mekong Wonders, to share stories, the conservation stories, which is called story maps in ArcGIS. We deal with all these kind of different technologies in geospatial analysis. And here in IIC, we bring the students and the communities as well as conservation organizations together and collaborate, give them first-hand knowledge on working with the real-world problems, and also help the communities and also conserve the traditional ecological knowledge the communities can have, so that it can be preserved for a longer time, and bring the younger students, younger generation together to conserve this kind of knowledge that we have. Thank you. I'm looking forward for more collaborations and discussions.
Good afternoon. I'm Anita Hagy Ferguson. It's an honor to be here today and share space with all of you. I'm the communications program manager for the Institute. I craft all of the narratives, work with the teams to craft the narratives that we send out to the communities, to our partners, and I handle a lot of the events at the Institute. Some of you, I see some familiar faces, may have been to some of our events, like when NPS Director Chuck Sands came. We have a conservation speaker series that has a theme every year, and last year it was Indigenous Voices in Conservation. This year it is Reimagining Protected Area Conservation. So my role is to help through outreach and engagement to broaden and deepen the conservation narrative that we have, to push beyond the status quo so we can start framing conservation differently and integrating different approaches, different knowledges, different perspectives. So I encourage you all to reach out. We do have these little printouts that summarize some of what we've all talked about. I put them over there on that table. If you want to grab one during the break, all of our contact information is there.
So part of the intention of giving you a bit of an overview of what the Institute for Integrative Conservation is so you know who we are and you know what sort of our intentions are, some of our activities that have gone on, because we want to ask you about what your goals are and how we can help. Pretty much everything that we do within the IIC is really about helping people in William & Mary reach out and work with people outside of William & Mary to make sure that we address real world needs that are helpful for people and helpful for the planet, and how those are entwined with each other. So what we're going to do as part of our exercises, we're going to walk around and give you some index cards that you could write on after we pose you some questions to think about. We're also going to ask you within your table to sort of discuss those questions a little bit before you start writing, and then we're going to, at the end, collect up some ideas as people want to share them about the questions, the prompts that we'll have. So our prompts are quite broad, and so there's a lot of room for you to think around what kinds of issues you care about, you think we could help with together in partnership in some way. So thinking broadly, what are your goals around educational activities that you feel like could be enabled by collaborating with us and us helping you in some way, around capacity development, around conservation issues. And so conservation we mean quite broadly in terms of just helping the health of the whole community and ecosystem intersecting with each other. And what types of opportunities can you see for partnership? Because you might come up with a particular idea. And so we'd like the tables to potentially discuss this for a few minutes, see what ideas you can come up with, and then we're going to facilitate a discussion and see what comes out of that. If you'd like to write down on the index cards that we pass around any ideas, please do, because we'll try and collect those up. The intention, yeah, please, and I think we're all going to mill around too as well. I'm the kind of really annoying teacher who is constantly walking around a room, and I like rooms when they're noisy rather than when they're quiet, because then that means that people are actually learning from each other as well. So please, engage with us, engage with each other around these questions, and then we'll come back and hear what people have to say after about 5 minutes from now. Thank you. And ask me any questions if you want, if you have questions right now, and I'll respond to you. That's wonderful. And we have this past year, as Chief Anderson knows, we piloted a small-scale GIS, geospatial training type of program, and we want to expand that. We would love to have more participation. And importantly, we want to make sure that as we design a program, we co-design it so it actually meets your needs, because we could go out there and we could teach you a GIS class, but does it give you what you actually need to do the assessments, do the data collection and analysis that you want to do on your lands? Does it enable you to apply for more opportunities, those kinds of things? So we would love to have a conversation, hopefully across multiple tribes, ideally, to be able to co-design something that would fit your needs. So that's wonderful that you would like to, you see that as a need. Yeah, definitely. That would be a fantastic opportunity for us to learn. And just in the small number of interactions we have, enormous respect for Lee Mitchell, who wears about 16 different hats from what I can tell. And we're starting to understand that part of perhaps what we can help with is to add even human capacity to some of the work that you want to do as well. We, as many other of the faculty from William & Mary and other universities have talked about, there is tremendous student interest in indigenous rights, in indigenous knowledge systems, and intersecting with environmental issues. What we felt in just 2 years of standing up this program at William & Mary is that there is an almost insatiable appetite for this. And so I think it's going to be possible to get many people involved that might help. Hopefully, many of those people can come from the tribal communities themselves, and we can intersect with educational opportunities while also solving direct problems too as well. And I'd love to talk about pathway programs that can enable people to work with us at William & Mary while also working directly with their own communities too as well. Yeah, we would love to connect with high schools because, as you saw from one of our goals, it's to diversify people who are interested and working in conservation. And we're defining conservation very broadly here. I mean, sometimes when I talk to people, I basically start with saying, put your hand up if you're a fan of clean air, clean water, food, shelter, clothing. Any of those things, you have to be a conservationist. Because we're talking about just life on the planet. We have to have a living planet for humans to do what they want. It's the base foundation for human society. And so we want to, I agree with you in terms of there's sort of been a movement away from at least the word conservation. But I also think that there's more environmental and sustainability awareness in the youth than there was just, say, 20, 30 years ago. And that, in combination with the awareness around social justice issues, is actually creating a tremendous educational opportunity. Because what the IIC is doing is looking at the intersection, essentially, between social justice issues and environmental conservation and sustainability issues. And there's an awful lot of energy in the youth around those issues. And there's a ton of career paths that exist now, and also career paths that are yet to be invented, because we have to move in that type of direction. There's no choice. We have to move in that direction, and all industries are going to be relevant. Yep, those are wonderful ideas, and I think those are all areas that we can help with. One thing that I didn't mention about the IIC is that it's an unusual unit within William & Mary in the sense that we're not aligned with any particular school or department. We're intentionally this free-floating entity so that when people come with complex challenges that cut across law, business, geoscience, we can go to our law school and our business school and our Center for Geospatial Analysis and draw on the expertise there as is needed to address the issues that you're coming with. So we can leverage the whole power of the university, the way that we're organized. Does anybody else want to share? Well, thank you so much for sharing right now. I know I saw many people writing, so if it's okay with you, we'd love to collect up those ideas and those thoughts. The intention is for us to write something up, because we sort of see this as shared work, right? You put a lot of effort right now into thinking about this. So we want to write up some notes to encapsulate what people have shared, and if it's okay, we'll send that to May, and you could share it back out to the participants as people want to receive that. Only give up your cards if you want to. If you've written something that you don't want to share, you don't have to give it up, of course. But we would love to see what else is out there, and we'll write up some notes and we'll share back. And hopefully this is just the start of a dialogue where we can help. Thank you so much.